are listening to The Thought Leaders Show with the world's cutting-edge, hottest innovators, influencers, and impact makers today. If you are looking for inspiration and motivation, listen in. Welcome to The Thought Leaders Show. Now, here's your host.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Nancy Martin. Nancy is an international #1 best-selling author for her book, Dance Your Way to an Empowered Self. She has developed a way of fighting abuse, not with resentment or regret, but with lightness and joy. Her history of all kinds of abuses in her life, combined with her dance, management, and coach training, has led her out of the darkness where she was living to a place of joy and empowerment and confidence. She now wants to spread her ideas with as many girls and women as possible to help prevent them from her same fate. You can also see her on Transformation TV. Welcome, Nancy.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Wow. And I had the distinct pleasure of meeting you recently at the Entrepreneur Student Club's Business Expert Forum at the Harvard Faculty Club. And
Yes.
You have such a beautiful light presence. So the fact that you have become empowered is really phenomenal, and it really comes across in your basic energy of who you are. So let's get started with the basic question: who do you help?
Right. So because I feel that my message is so powerful, I really want to reach, like you said, as many girls and women as possible. But I do focus, because I have a background in dance and in management of studios. I do work with dance studios. It enables me to speak the same language as those girls, as working through their bodies, since that's what I do. I use our bodies to help us lighten up, develop our confidence, and it really helps them to take the confidence from the dance floor into their everyday lives. So I love working with dancers and dance studios, because these studio owners, they really are, they end up being second parents to these kids. These kids spend so much time in the studio, and they really look to their teachers and to the studio owners for guidance in their everyday lives too. So working in that environment really, really empowers me too. I learn from them just as much as they learn from me. So that's a big one. I'm working with dance studios. That includes the owners, the teachers, the students. I get the studio where the owner always wanted it to be, and I get those dancers being the it girls on stage, where you just look at them and you just can tell that they love what they're doing and that they're so confident.
Yeah.
So
that is how you come across too. That you exude confidence. That is so cool.
And it's so funny, because for most of my life I didn't have it. It's still, even though now that I'm more in the public eye and doing and speaking to more people this way, I'm hearing, even though I hear that so much now, still every single time I hear it, it still hits me. It still shocks me just a little bit. It's comforting to know that it's coming across, because I've lived my life, so much of my life, not being confident. Thank you for reminding me that it's visible and it's out there.
Well, I think that's really important. So tell me a little bit more about, why is it that women and girls don't always have that confidence? What are some of the issues and problems, and these can be real or perceived, that are helping keep I'll just say it, keep us down from achieving that confidence of who we are?
Yes. And so I think that, I'm certainly not going to get political, but we do know in this last United States presidential election, topics have come up. And the topic of misogyny has boiled to the surface and has become a topic of conversation that we are now really outwardly talking about in a way that we haven't before. It's really come to the forefront where we're able to have this conversation that misogyny does still exist and it still affects us in major ways. And so many things have changed. Women have stepped up in certain ways, but the statistics are still so prevalent that between misogyny and what misogyny does is it fosters this feeling of, men are stronger than women. And so what that does for us is we learn that from a very young age. We learn that men are stronger and make better decisions than we do. And then we live our lives that way. And again, this is not everybody, but this is my story, and I know that I'm not alone. I know that it's a common story. And then unfortunately, because the men also have this lack of confidence and are told they're supposed to be the strong ones, if they don't feel that way, inside they feel like they have to act out and prove it to themselves and to others that they are. And then I believe that lack of confidence is what is fostering both ends of these crimes against women. Both the men and the women are suffering from the low confidence. And that is why all of this is happening.
And I think you're right. People don't, a lot of things have changed. And even though it may be, 100 years, 50 years, whatever, of women, if you look back at the 60s and 70s, for example, I was told, you can do anything. Just go out there and do it. Well, guess what? I went out there and thought I could do anything, but I kept hitting literal walls in wages, in how I was treated. I actually did have bosses chase me around the desk back in the 80s. And of course, when I reported it, nothing happened. I was always told, oh, well, that's just the way it is. You just live with it. And so, of course, I would go find another job because I didn't want to have to just live with it. That's very, very interesting.
And it's not even just in the 80s. I too, not very long ago, worked for a company where I was the only manager that was a woman at my level and did not make as much as all of the men doing the same work as myself. And not only that, it's not even a skill set thing because I would be the one that they would call in to clean up the messes of my peers. Yes. I would be the one that would go into their location and clean up their messes when they mess it up, but still made less money than them.
Yes, I lived that also. I mean, I remember I was a newspaper editor in middle management, going into the meeting. All the men at the same level as me all had the Palm Pilots or Blackberries back in the day, or some type of a smartphone device. I had a stenographer's pad. Because number one, I couldn't afford any of that fancy equipment, and it certainly wasn't given to me. So I used the tools that I had at my disposal, which was an old-fashioned pen and paper, because that was what I had, even though I was at this higher level working with all of these men. And often I was the only woman in with all of these men at this level as an editor. And I still think about like how I fought against the low wages and against all the sexual harassment, the innuendos, the comments, all of the different things that today shouldn't even be part of the workplace at all, with all the things. And yet you said it, and it's not about politics at all. It's that we witnessed how in the world today, people just ignore the issues of bad behavior. And I was like totally shocked at how people just go, oh, well, boys will be boys. Yes. And it's like, no, boys will not be boys. Men and women should be able to work together. and work in a safe environment, both physically and emotionally, so that you can become the best person you are. So tell me more about how you help women build up their core confidence and their emotional confidence.
Right. So the way I see it is that is the root, right, of not being able to, why we feel like we cannot stand up and say no, and we can't stop these things from happening, is the core confidence, because we get convinced that, well, boys will be boys, or this is just the way it is, and if you want to play with the big dogs, this is just part of what you have to put up with. And I say no. I say you can do that and still stand up for yourself. And the way that I love to build core confidence, it doesn't have to be this heavy thing. So my background is in dance, and I danced for most of my life, and that's where I love to be. That's where I'm free, is when I'm dancing. And so, having a dance background or not, I can show people how using their bodies through their posture and through music and their breathing and their movement, how that can help build real lasting, embody your core confidence in a way that then you can go out into the world and be able to say no when you need to and stand up for yourself when you need to. And then the other half of that is emotional choice. That yes, emotions do just happen upon us. We do get triggered, and emotions happen upon us. They just take over our bodies. But what we don't realize is we can then change those emotions. We do have choice. It takes practice, and it takes knowledge of how to use our bodies in such a way that we can choose which moods and emotions best suit the situation we're currently in, and not let them completely take over.
So can you give some examples? I know that you were very forthcoming with some examples of some things that happened to you, both in the speech you gave at the Harvard Faculty Club as well as in your book. So can you, how do you translate that? Like, if you were working with someone, how would you help them to understand how to exude that core confidence the way you do now? When you walk into a room, you exude power, and it's like power, but you're nice, you're friendly, you're warm, you are a magnet of good. And that's what I got from you. So how would you work with someone to develop that core confidence and to develop that emotional choice so that they could, turn it on at will to help
Right.
them?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you. That was very sweet of you. Thank you so much.
I tell it the way it is.
And but secondly, so first of all, each person being an individual and coming from wherever they come from, I do work with them differently depending on where they are in this journey. I just got off of a different interview, and we were talking about the differences between some women's empowerment that are talking about how to recognize different types of personalities in men, so that you know how to avoid them, and having the focus on the men and how to recognize bad versus good, and all of that kind of stuff, versus where my focus is on yourself. That if yourself is your confidence is all the way down to the core, and you believe in yourself enough, it doesn't matter who's approaching you. And so what we talked about through that, though, is that some women they're on a journey, right? So they're on a journey and through all of this. And so it really depends on where you are. So the first thing I do when I'm working with people is really just discover where you are currently, because we all have a different journey that we're on, and we're all in different places in our journey. And so it's important that I don't try and rush you somewhere where you're not ready to go yet. But the overall feeling of what I do is I bring in music, I bring in movement, And I bring in centering practices that are similar to like a guided meditation that helps. So my idea of emotional choice is just like a gear shift on the old-fashioned cars, where you had to actually shift the gears. You would always have to go through neutral. Remember those?
Yep.
Yeah, so you couldn't go through,
Second, third.
Yep. Yeah. Right. So you couldn't go from first to third gear without going through neutral, right? And so it's the same thing with our emotions. We can't go from rage to joy without first going through neutral. And so one of the first things that I teach all of my clients is how to find the neutral, how to center yourself to a point where you can be aware of what is going on with you. When you do feel a strong emotion come up, you can bring yourself back to center. And so then from that center place, you're able to see everywhere to decide what emotion will best suit you in that moment. And sometimes it's still anger, and that's okay. I believe there's a place for all emotions. I don't believe that there's good and bad. I believe there's a place for all of them. But what I do believe in is your power to be able to choose the one that best suits you in the moment.
Very interesting about how you do that, because I was just thinking about how we do choose different emotions based on, is it worth it to express this anger? For example, my grandson was using a expensive headset I had. And I asked him before I took him to the airport, where are they? He said, on the couch. So I just thought, oh, okay. So I get home and they weren't on the couch. They were at the bottom of the stairs, chewed up, because the dog had found them on the couch and chewed them. So it was like I could have been angry and, yelled and screamed and stomped my feet. But in the scheme of things, I used it as where I said to him, you left them on the couch and the dog got a hold of them and chewed them up. Now they're gone, they're
Right.
garbage. And I used it more of a learning experience of put things back in a proper place.
Sure.
Instead of leaving them laying around, even though, he didn't think that the dog would do that. But obviously the dog thought it was a great thing to chew on.
Right.
So that's a real simplified example of a choice of not being a raging maniac over something and using it in a different way. So that's very interesting. So when you work with people with music, I know music is very powerful. Meditations are very powerful. The body work, when obviously being a dancer, you're very in tune with the body because a dancer is in control. How do you make that body-mind connection?
So music, the way that I use music, even for myself in my own personal life, is I make song lists on my iPhone. I separate my music between moods and temperaments and things like that, so that when I do want to choose, this is another way that I choose my emotions, is if I decide going into something that it's beneficial for me to be in a certain mood, I will listen to that song list and I will allow it to move my body in the way that I want it to in order to get me in that mood. So for instance, when I'm getting ready to go out with my girlfriends, I'll put on my light, happy, joyous, song list while I'm getting ready and putting my makeup on and dancing around the house while I'm getting dressed. And while I'm getting ready to, tape a webinar or something like that, I'll put on my confidence song list. And while I'm getting ready for that, I will move in a more confident, strut around the house while I'm putting my makeup on and getting dressed and all of those things. So just our postures alone really affect what our moods. Would you mind doing a short exercise with me?
Oh, I would love it.
Awesome. So just for a minute, indulge me wherever you are, standing, sitting, and for everybody, join along with us. This is just an easy one just to get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So wherever you are, make your spine up, stand up tall or sit up tall. Okay. And you're actually going to put your chin higher than you normally would. So you're going to look up towards this, not directly above you, but, up towards the ceiling. And pull your shoulders up. And you're actually going to put your arms way up in the air like you're stretching in the morning. And you're going to bring and now you can drop your head back if you'd like to. Look up at your hands and breathe deeply into your body. And look up at the sky and reach your arms up in the air. And breathe deeply and put a smile on your face if you feel like it or not. Just make your mouth smile. And from here, tell me that you're having a wonderful day. And say that. Say, I'm having a wonderful day.
I'm having a wonderful day.
And I feel great.
I feel great.
And don't you? Don't you from here?
Actually, yes. When you raise your arms up and you tilt your head back, it like does something.
Yes, it opens your chest and it just opens everything up for all the greatness that's up there. So now let's bring our arms back down and your head back down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring your chin down to your chest. So you're actually dropping your head forward. And you're going to round your shoulders forward also. So your spine, no matter where you are, is going to be arched over. So you're going to have a humpback there. And let your arms hang wherever they hang, if they're just resting on your lap or hanging on either side of your legs or wherever they are. And drop your head and tuck your chin in there. And from here, you really can't breathe deeply into your diaphragm, so you're breathing pretty shallow.
Yeah.
With your lungs. You might even feel like closing your eyes, or they're a little droopy.
Yeah, it's making me yawn.
Mm-hmm. So from here, I feel great.
I feel great.
Can you feel that? Do you feel great?
No, I feel like I need to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
having
can't
a wonderful
breathe.
day from down here.
Yeah. Having a wonderful, yeah, you can even hear it in your voice. I'm having a wonderful day. Sound like you're.
All right, so shake it off. Bring yourself back to neutral. Take a deep breath. Get some air in that body.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
So notice just the posture. And after you do this exercise a few times, you can learn how to only shifting just your shoulders forward or back is just enough to alter your mindset and how you look about what you're doing in that moment and how you're feeling.
Yeah, I really felt the difference from being open and alive to being closed and going, hurry up, I want to be able to breathe.
Yes. And for some people, so I used to do this exercise with, I am awesome. And for some of them, they couldn't even get the word awesome out of their mouth.
Wow.
Their bodies wouldn't allow them to say the words.
Wow. So that's why dancing is so powerful, because whenever and also singing,
yes.
Whenever I watch people who sing or dance or sing and dance, they're just alive.
Yes.
And I think that's the big thing. So that's what you do, Nancy
That's
Martin.
What I do. So notice the power of the body. We dismiss our bodies. We treat them like they're possessions. My car, my house, my wallet, my body. We treat them like they're possessions. We don't treat them like they're us. Your body is you. And it's so powerful. It changes your language and your mood and the way you work and live through the world. It's so powerful, and we forget about that. We dismiss it.
Wow. That is really phenomenal. So when you work with people, do you ever run into people who say, oh, Nancy, I don't think this is for me? What do you think is the main reason that people don't embrace their body and trying to become more empowered?
Right. So unfortunately, I feel like, well, not I feel like, there's proof behind this that we have really focused our energy through the years on the mental intelligence, right? We've focused on scholarly knowledge, and which is great. I mean, that's fine. But we focus so much on learning things mentally that we have over the years completely dismissed the power of our emotions and our bodies and what they can do for us. And so, because our society, for the most part, and thank goodness this is all changing now, you can feel the winds of change, in our societies now, as yoga is becoming more popular and meditation is becoming more popular. And that's wonderful. But there's still that overlying, especially in business, right? That overlying thing of, the mental stuff is more important for some reason than the whole rest of our beings. And so sometimes it's hard to cut past that, but there are various different exercises like the one I just showed you that shows how powerful it is and how it can make you more or less effective in your work environment also.
I can really see that. How I wonder if that's one of the reasons why you see the standing desks have become so popular,
Absolutely.
because obviously, and I feel it sitting in front of a computer all day long, and my knees get stiff, I get
Mhm.
stiff because I just stay too long in that, exactly when you're the chin down and the all that
Yep.
closed position. I could really feel that, and I go, oh my goodness, I spend a lot of time in this position because I'm
Yes.
in front of a computer. And so it's like, oh, Tammy, open up,
Yeah.
get up more often. And so I learned a lot just in our short conversation about how to allow my body to, like to do that arm stretch and to stand up and everything. Just that little bit of information will improve my life. So thank you for that. So if I wanted to work with you, or if our audience wants to work with you, how can they get in contact with you, Nancy?
So they can check out my website. It is nancymartincoaching.com. And there you'll see information on my how to hire me for speaking or to come into your business or for one-on-one coaching or speaking to other, like groups or women's groups or things like that. So all of that information is on my website, nancymartincoaching.com. And so that you always have your first conversation with me is always complimentary, because I believe that we need to be able to figure out if we can work with each other. It's just as important for you to figure me out as me figure you out and see if we're a good match for each other. So go ahead and contact me there, and we can have a conversation and see if we can make something work, and we can get that confidence boost that'll help make you more productive all the way around in your life.
Well, I would love, I'm going to take you up on that at another time. But I just think that having you come speak to a group, I mean, I can imagine, I can see you on the stage. Obviously, I did see you on the stage, but I can see you on the stage inspiring women and girls with what you have to say. And it's amazing because, like I said, your energy is such that it just goes out into the universe, and I can feel it even coming across the wires here in our conversation, because you're so powerful. And think about that, Nancy, when you speak and you talk to women and girls about, hey, you can take control, you can become whoever you want. And with
Mm,
you, when you say that, you actually give people the tools and
yes.
the methods of actually creating that person that is inside of you. So with that, I want to just thank you so much for being the powerful presence you are. I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I really love your work and what you're doing. And I just want to thank you for just allowing me to reach more and more people. Like any opportunity I have to reach more, I just love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to the Thought Leaders Show. To get all past shows and to get all future shows, go to thoughtleadersshow.com.